Can govern.
Fears can govern, but fears can also be created, but they are adopted. I don't. Everyone it doesn't have the same fears.
No,
What I'm saying is why that is that we don't have any control of the brain. The body itself is a system, and that what we call consciousness, um, what we call consciousness or the soul, is this thing that is aware of the system, but it's not actually. It doesn't necessarily feel part of the system. Like there's limitations to your body, but there's not limitations, and there's limitations to your brain, but there's not necessarily limitations to what you can imagine. The brain can do but so much, but the imagination seems limitless.
I'm still stuck on men being able to create systems. Because if it's not a what, then it has to be a who. Then if it's a who,
that's assuming order.
So what's the order?
There is none.
So what's making it?
Why does something have to be doing to make it? There's no reason to assume that there's something to do it.
Some people just do it because
it's comforting. People tell stories to themselves because it's comforting.
But that's people still passively creating a system.
That's not creating a system, that's adopting.
How would you define an adopting?
Adopting is the same as manipulating. It's because this thing exists independent of you.
But without us.
Without us who?
The system wouldn't exist.
No, let's just suppose that because you experience life, that you have to exist for life to exist.
Mm-hmm.
When in truth, life exists independent of you. You just happen to be a part of life.
Agreed. Like nature.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like, it's still going to be here whether I'm here or not.
Exactly. So that's when you adapt. I don't think humans control systems at all. Like, think about the weather. We don't create weather. We adapt to weather. We don't create the fact that we're on this planet.
So what's ideology?
We adapt to. Ideology is a story you tell yourself. Like Jorge Luis Borges says, and I used to hate it, but it's the truth. The ficciones, the fictions, the stories you tell yourself. When you wake up in the morning and you say, I am so-and-so, and this is what I do, and da-da-da-da, this is where I want to be. There's a checks and balances between you, your emotional state, and so forth that compels this story that you tell yourself. It's not necessarily true because someone who has a story about you may not agree with your story, may not agree with what you say about yourself. That's when you get into Sartre's no exit. And when he says hell is other people. Because if someone doesn't confirm the way you feel about yourself, then that causes you to question your own story. Because you only experience life as you.
So, this is a mouthful right now. And we'll definitely continue and pick back up on this because that's very interesting and talking about systems. But with that being said, where do you get all of this from?
Books, not just books. Books, other people, a lot of conversations. It's really just conversations, films, music. Math, physics, and
so basically experience.
It's not even just experience; it's imagination too. Because
imagination is an experience.
It is an experience, but it's not an experience you can necessarily verify. So it's not necessarily an experience that you can rely on.
And you're using verify as in what? Because I can verify my thoughts.
You can verify your thoughts, but you can also. But what makes it the reason Rene Descartes said cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am, is because you can also hallucinate. You see those things and you act upon those things because you see them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are there. So I operate on a system of verification. If someone else can verify something, then I'll go forward with it. But if
What if y'all both hallucinating?
what if we're both hallucinating? What drug did we take?
What if y'all didn't take no drug?
What if it's a collective hallucination? Then you get into the matrix. There's no way to verify or not verify. That's when you get into how they can move, and that's when you get into absurdism.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't really say verify because
I can verify a lot of things.
like what?
You can verify that you're thinking. That's why cognitive ergo is so important. I think, therefore I am. I cannot doubt that I'm thinking.
But if you can verify that you're thinking, then you can verify a hallucination. The hallucination is
You're saying as an individual. You're saying as an individual I can verify the hallucination.
Because to me, verifying as a collective doesn't really have any verification.
But it does though. Think about this.
If we all hallucinating, then
if we all
makes it concrete.
No, then that's when you get into George Berkeley. To be is to be perceived, and he believed that God was a great perceiver. But no, what I'm saying is that the reason you don't want everyone to believe that their hallucinations are verifiable and therefore real is that because when you get into mental illness, someone who's a schizophrenic has perfect logic. So someone who's a schizophrenic will say, these hallucinations are real, these hallucinations are real, I must do what they're telling me to do. Or someone who's having night terrors, they begin to believe that they'll have what they experience and what they feel is what everyone else is experiencing and what everyone else is feeling. Therefore, it further drives them into isolation because they're not understanding why someone else is not experiencing the same thing because it's not being verified by the way other people are acting. That's what I'm saying.
Does those people not verifying and not make it real? Does that
mean what I mean by verifying, they are experiencing, but the experience is something that's outside of their reach. It's not real. There's not the voice talking to you. There's an imbalance somewhere. There's a chemical causing things.
So because it's outside of reach means that because it's outside of because it's outside of
Go ahead.
So because it's outside of the spectrum of human,
that would feed into the supernatural. But
just because you can't verify the supernatural don't mean it don't exist.
That's true. But then there goes into the
that's like saying it ain't other galaxies or wasn't other galaxies and shit like that. But when it wasn't verified, did that mean it didn't exist?
And to the human mind, no, it didn't exist.
But it's like the Lord, what you call it? The tree falls in the forest and nobody get it here.